Let's study 9th standard ICSE Physics Chapter 6 Energy Sources and Global Warming. Characteristics of a source of energy. A source of energy should be such that it can provide an adequate amount of useful energy at a steady rate and over a long period of time. It should be safe and convenient to use, economical and easy to store and transport. For example, LPG. It's easy to store and transport, convenient to use, safe to use, and gives energy at a steady rate. Now, sources of energy can be classified into renewable and non-renewable. Renewable are called non-conventional or non-traditional because they have been popular only in the recent years. Non-renewable sources have been used since decades or even centuries. So they are called conventional or traditional. Let's first talk about renewable sources of energy, which are non-conventional. They are renewable, that means they can be replenished. They won't exhaust. But still, we should be careful about using them. For example, wood obtained from trees are renewable, but trees usually take more than 15 years to fully grow. So if the rate of deforestation is greater than the rate at which these forests grow, then there will be an acute scarcity of wood. Now the main renewable energy sources are as follows. Let's study them one by one, starting with the sun. Solar energy is abundantly available on Earth. The average solar energy reaching the upper atmosphere of Earth per second and per meter square area is 1.34 kilowatt per meter square area. That is called the solar constant. That's a lot of solar energy. Unfortunately, we can't use it entirely. We use only a fraction of it. This solar energy is the reason behind many other sources of energy like wind energy, hydro energy, and even the fossil fuels indirectly have the solar energy trapped in them. Now let's study wind as a source of energy. Well, the kinetic energy of the wind is very useful. It is used for running windmills. The flowing water also has kinetic energy that is called hydro energy. Indirectly, that is because of solar energy actually, because solar energy causes evaporation and precipitation, due to which rivers are formed. Then we have the biomass energy. That is the wastes and the dead parts of all living beings. It's called biomass. They have chemicals stored in them, and the energy obtained from it is called bioenergy, such as from wood, cattle dung, crop residues, agriculture wastes. Again, indirectly, the biomass energy is coming from solar energy because during photosynthesis, solar energy is stored in these chemical compounds. Biomass can also be used to make biogas or gobar gas, which is a good fuel. Biogas can be used as a fuel to run engines and for generating electricity. Next, we have tidal energy. The source of the tidal energy are the high tides and low tides, which the rising and falling water can be used to produce electricity. But there are very few sites where tidal dams can be built. Next, oceans as a source of energy. It is of two types, ocean thermal energy and ocean waves energy. Thermal energy is due to the difference between the surface temperature of the ocean and the temperature of water deep inside. And wave energy is the kinetic energy of the sea waves. Geothermal energy is the heat energy possessed by the rocks inside the earth. Deep inside the earth's crust, the temperature becomes very high as we go closer towards the mantle. Sometimes the water trapped between these hot rocks, they start boiling and they come out as geysers and springs, hot springs. This geothermal energy can be useful to produce electricity and to keep houses warm in cold climate. Next, nuclear energy. Nuclear energy can be obtained in two ways, either by nuclear fission or nuclear fusion. Let me explain nuclear fission. If you have a uranium atom and you bombard it with a neutron, a slow neutron, then it will break into two smaller elements and it will give three more neutrons. What? You don't like the red color? You want the blue color? Okay. Is this better? So when a neutron hits uranium-235, it becomes 236 mass number. That's unstable. So it breaks into barium and krypton. And 3 neutrons are released and some energy is released. According to Einstein's equation, E is equal to mc square, the loss in mass of such a reaction is converted into energy. Yes, mass can be converted into energy as per Einstein's equation. Now these 3 neutrons will further hit more uranium atoms and a chain reaction will start. Now this will also split, give 3 more neutrons, same thing here and here. And those 9 neutrons will now hit 9 new uranium atoms, and soon the entire mass of uranium that we have with millions of uranium atoms will undergo nuclear fission, giving such incredible amount of energy that a nuclear bomb can destroy a city because of this uncontrolled chain reaction. However, if we can control this, then a steady amount of energy is released, which can be used for constructive purposes like generating electricity. Nuclear fusion, on the other hand, cannot be controlled as of now by us. We don't have the technology. It happens in all the stars, including the sun, where smaller atoms like hydrogen, they combine to form a bigger atom like helium, and in the process release a lot of energy. If one day we could learn how to control such reactions on Earth, then all our energy problems could be solved. Now let's talk about the non-renewable sources of energy, that is conventional ones. Mostly they are fossil fuels. Fossil fuels were formed by the fossilization of the remains of plants and animals buried under the earth millions of years ago. Because of the immense temperature and pressure over millions of years, they got converted into coal, petroleum, or natural gas. They have helped us a lot in industrial development. However, now they are turning out to be a problem because they are very polluting. They give out a lot of carbon dioxide and other gases, polluting gases. We are trying to switch to cleaner fossil fuels like LPG, CNG. They are less polluting compared to petrol or diesel, but they still cause global warming and they are exhaustible. So once they are exhausted in a few decades or centuries, then it will take millions of years to replenish them. So it's very important that we start using the renewable sources. LPG and CNG are preferred over using petrol and diesel because they are less polluting. Still, fossil fuels will be exhausted one day, a few centuries from now, and they are also very polluting and cause global warming. So it's better to start using renewable sources. On the other hand, we should use energy judiciously or carefully, because if there is an energy shortage, our progress will be hampered. We should not waste energy, we should not cut trees unnecessarily, and we should plant more trees. Fossil fuels usage should be reduced every year. We should use solar energy, hydro energy, bioenergy, etc. And we should try to use nuclear fusion, which will solve a lot of problems. Now let's understand how electricity is produced by these various sources. First of all, solar energy. Solar energy can be used in a few ways. First of all, by using a solar cell, which is usually made up of a semiconductor like germanium or silicon or gallium. Any light falling on the solar cell is converted into electricity. You may have seen solar cells or many solar cells together called a solar panel on the top of terraces of various buildings, especially hospitals, movie halls, in gardens, for street lamps. You can see solar cells even in your calculator. But they're not very efficient because they convert just a part of the light energy into electricity, and they are quite expensive. However, they are non-polluting and renewable. Another way to use solar energy is using a solar panel, which has many solar cells. During the day, they can convert it to electricity, which is stored in the battery, and at night, it can be used to light the street lamps or for running any other machine. We can also use solar energy in the form of solar power plant. In a solar power plant, we have concave mirrors which will focus the rays of light on a particular container which is painted black. So it absorbs a lot of heat and the water inside it becomes very hot, boiling hot, and it's converted into steam. And this steam has kinetic energy, And whenever the steam rotates any turbine, electricity is produced. This is the principle behind all the power plants. For example, in this wind generator, wind is rotating the blades of this windmill, which rotates the armature in a generator, which is a metal coil in the presence of a magnetic field. And there is a principle of electromagnetism or electromagnetic induction that whenever a metal coil rotates in a magnetic field, electricity is produced. Why and how? That will be explained in 10th standard. Right now, you just have to remember that whenever a turbine rotates, then the generator connected to it, in it, the armature coil also rotates in the magnetic field, North Pole, South Pole, and so electricity is generated. So that's how solar power plants are useful. We have one at Gurgaon in Haryana. We have to learn all the examples in the textbook. Wind generator, I've already explained how it works. The advantages of solar energy and wind energy are that they don't cause pollution, but they have some disadvantages. For solar energy, the disadvantage is the initial cost is high. That is the case with wind generator as well. Solar panels are useful because they don't require any maintenance. They last for a very long time. Their running cost is almost nil. That means once you set it up, then you don't have to spend anything more on it. It is very useful in remote, inaccessible areas also, like far away from the cities, in hilly regions where electricity supply is not possible. Then the houses can make their own electricity if they're getting sunlight on their rooftops. But the disadvantage again is that solar energy conversion efficiency is quite low, and it produces DC current, that is direct current, and not AC current, which is alternating current, whereas in our households, all our appliances work on AC. Why is AC preferred over DC is not in our syllabus right now. Now let's study hydro energy. In hydro energy, we see that the kinetic energy of the flowing water, the water which was stored behind a dam, when the gates are opened, this water falls on the wheels called the turbine, and when the turbine rotates, then in the generator, electricity is produced. So here, potential energy is converted into kinetic energy, is converted into electrical energy, and that is applied to the households in the cities and towns. Now, nuclear energy. Nuclear energy, well, as I've explained, the uranium rods will undergo nuclear fission to give a lot of energy. Thankfully, the cadmium rods will make sure that it is controlled. If it was uncontrolled, it would be like a nuclear bomb and the whole town would get destroyed. But the cadmium rods absorb the excess neutrons. Remember, I had explained that we start with 1 neutron, which gives 3 neutrons and then 9 neutrons and so on. Well, the excess neutrons are absorbed by cadmium rods, so the chain reaction is under control. So whatever heat is produced is used to convert the water into steam. And as I told you, whenever steam rotates a turbine, electricity is produced in the generator. Graphite block and heavy water also have some functions, which will be explained in the 10th standard. Now, the limitations of using wind energy is that wind farms having many such windmills can be set up only in areas where the wind can blow at least at the speed of 15 kilometers per hour. So a large land is required, which is quite expensive. The advantage of hydro energy is that it does not cause any pollution and it's unlimited supply. And the dams which are built can be used to control irrigation, to control floods, and to do irrigation as well. But the limitation is that flowing water is not available everywhere. Only countries having many rivers will find this very useful, like India. And when we build dams, the ecosystem is affected. Many plants and animals may perish or they may get displaced. Even human settlements can get displaced. Nuclear energy is advantageous because even a small amount of uranium or any nuclear fuel can produce a tremendous amount of energy. And it gives energy for a long time. We have many nuclear plants in India. For example, we have one at Tarapur in Maharashtra. But the disadvantage is that it is not completely clean source of energy because it gives out harmful nuclear radiations which can cause damage. If we are exposed to these radiations, it can cause cancer. And the wastes left behind after nuclear fission can cause environmental pollution. So we'll have to dispose it very carefully. Next, energy degradation. We have studied how in any ecosystem, as energy is transferred from one food chain to another, there is energy degradation. You could see here that the amount of energy from producers to consumers to the top carnivores keeps on decreasing because a lot of energy is wasted in the atmosphere as heat. Similarly, even in machines, whenever there is transformation of energy, a part of the energy is wasted. That is called energy degradation. For example, in a light bulb, less than 25% of electrical energy is converted into light energy. The remaining is wasted as heat. We can't help it. No machine is 100% efficient. Now let's study about the greenhouse effect. The Earth's atmosphere allows solar radiations to penetrate through. Some waves like the radio waves and the infrared radiations of long wavelength, they are reflected. Gamma rays and UV rays are also blocked by the clouds and the ozone layer, thankfully. Whereas visible light and infrared radiations of short wavelength do enter the atmosphere and reach the Earth's surface. These are all types of electromagnetic waves. They are very similar to light waves. We can't see them although. Now when the Earth becomes hot, after some time, especially at night, the Earth releases the heat in the form of infrared radiations, also called heat radiations of long wavelength. So that means that the Earth's surface receives short wavelength infrared radiations and it emits long wavelength infrared radiations. But these long wavelength infrared radiations are mostly blocked by various greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide, water vapor, methane, etc. They're not allowed to escape into the space entirely. This keeps the Earth's surface and the lower atmosphere warm. This is called the greenhouse effect, which is very good because without the greenhouse effect, Earth's average temperature would be, on the surface, would be minus 18 degrees Celsius. And life as we know it wouldn't be possible. Thanks to the greenhouse effect, Earth's average temperature is around 15.5 degrees Celsius, which is convenient for life on Earth. But now, as more carbon dioxide and methane is being released, more of these heat waves or heat rays are being blocked. So the Earth's temperature is increasing further, and this excessive greenhouse effect is called global warming. Now it is said that in the next 50 years, the Earth's temperature would increase drastically, which will cause devastation. By 2100, at the current rate, the Earth's temperature would become 64 degrees Celsius. Life, as we know it, wouldn't be possible. But what are the causes of global warming? Well, first of all, the concentration of carbon dioxide is increasing because of industrial growth and excessive use of fossil fuels and deforestation. The concentration of methane has also increased because of agricultural practices and animal husbandry. For example, cow farts have a lot of methane. So what are the harmful effects of global warming? Well, first of all, dislocation and disappearance of plant and animal species. As the Earth becomes warmer, many plants and animals will become extinct. Secondly, warming of ocean. If the ocean's temperature increases, it expands and all the coastal regions will get submerged under the sea, like Mumbai, New York, etc. It will cause a shift in farming regions because if the Earth's temperature increases by 3 degrees Celsius, then the crops cannot be grown in a hotter climate. We'll have to shift to higher latitudes. This will increase the chances of malnutrition among the population. There will also be an increase in new diseases and heat-related deaths, heat stroke, and even diseases like malaria because mosquitoes breed faster in a warmer climate. There will be change in regional climate. Climate will become unpredictable. The weather will worsen with hurricanes and typhoons occurring throughout the year in some places. As the glaciers and the ice at the poles melt, many islands will submerge and populations will have to migrate. So what is the solution to this problem? Well, the ways to minimize the impact of global warming is number one, technological measures. For example, use renewable sources of energy like solar energy to generate electricity. Stop using fossil fuels. Change the way of transportation. Use electric cars, use public transport. Use biochar stuffs for cooking, which is cleaner compared to the older versions of stoves. There are some economic measures which can be taken. For example, reforestation and sustainable use of land. If any industry is causing deforestation, it should be made compulsory for them to afforest. That is, plant trees again. And a very good idea is carbon tax. Whichever industries or factories are emitting carbon dioxide, they should pay a tax because of that. The amount of tax should depend on the number of employees which are working there, or the amount of sales that they have. So these industries will be encouraged to stop using a lot of fuel, to allow employees to work from home by doing teleconferencing or using the internet. They will use modern technology for manufacturing, cleaner and greener technology, because they would like to avoid paying carbon tax. And if the government does collect a lot of carbon tax, they can use it to plant more trees. There are some policy measures as well, like educate the children to live sustainable lifestyle. We are living a materialistic lifestyle of use and throw. We want the latest gizmos. We want to spend a lot in the name of entertainment and pleasure without concern for the future generation who will suffer because of the pollution we are causing, because of the global warming which we are doing, because we are using up all the resources. So the children should be educated to live a modest lifestyle. Also, the population should be controlled. Family planning measures should be taken. Women should be empowered to control their lifestyle and to take their own decisions about how many children do they want and when do they want them.
Hi students, this is AJ sir. If you like this video, press the like button. If you would like to enroll for my online test series or online lectures, email me or message me on Instagram. Check the description for more information.